Heihachi Mishima is alive? So EVO is taking place this weekend, and it's amazing. For those of you who aren't familiar with EVO, chances are you probably are if you clicked on this video, but EVO is like Christmas for fighting game fans, like the E3 for fighting games. All kinds of cool stuff gets announced here. New games, the return of old games, new characters for existing games, what have you. It's a blast. And on top of that, the tournament itself is incredibly fun to watch. From Street Fighter 6 to Tekken 8 to Guilty Gear, everything is always so high energy and hyped and ecstatic, and you can't help but just be ingrained in all of it and just feel the vibe of the energy and the crowd and the players through the screen. It's a really awesome, incredible feeling. Not many other video games in their genres are really able to replicate it. It's something truly special. And we got a lot of cool announcements. Capcom and SNK are continuing their relationship by shadow dropping SVC Chaos. Yes, during the, I believe it was the KOF 15 finals. SNK was just like, here's a trailer. It's SVC Chaos, and you can buy it right now for 20 bucks. So that's coming out, and that's going to continue and further the relationship between Capcom and SNK. And that continues to give more hope that hopefully a new Marvel vs. Capcom will take place, sometime relatively soon. The people at Marvel seem to want it. The people at Capcom seem to want it. In fact, over the weekend, one of the producers of Street Fighter 6, Shuhei Matsumoto's son, was interviewed by Dexerto, and he even talked about how, he really wants to do a follow-up, a new crossover for Marvel vs. Capcom. He would go on to say the development team at Capcom has big dreams. Maybe there's an opportunity for a new Marvel vs. Capcom game. Maybe there's an opportunity for a new Capcom-based SNK game. I don't know, but if that were to happen, that would take some time and effort in order to create and release those kinds of games. But the short term, with what we can do now, is at least reintroduce these past legacy games to a new audience, to people who may not have the opportunity to play it, because it might not be out on modern or current platforms. He would also go on to say that Marvel themselves are very aware of the MVC community and how dedicated they are to this franchise. So cross your fingers, and hopefully within the next, 4 or 5 years or so, Marvel and Capcom can get back together and do a proper Marvel vs. Capcom follow-up to Infinite. I guess you could maybe call it Marvel vs. Capcom 4, since Infinite didn't have an official number attached to it, or you could just skip 4 and just call it 5, since it's technically the 5th iteration within the franchise. But either way, it kind of feels like they're gearing up to do that. They announced the Marvel vs. Capcom fighting game collection. There's now SVC Chaos. Bringing all of these older titles back to the public and reintroducing them is incredibly smart. It gets people familiar again with the brands, but it also allows people to actually play this, because unless you have OG copies of these games or are playing them on emulation, it's really hard to get your hands on this stuff. So to make it available for everyone is just super awesome. And shout out to the producers of Street Fighter 6. Those guys are just incredible. Everything they've been able to do with Street Fighter 5, bringing that back to life and then extending its life with the DLC, and then everything they're doing now with Street Fighter 6, it's just a really beautiful thing, and it's super cool to see younger, passionate people kind of pick up the torch and revive beloved franchises. And very quickly before we get to the Tekken news, I gotta give a shout out to, I believe it's pronounced Tayo or Heyo. He was one of the Third Strike players, and he's been playing Third Strike for quite some time, but last night, or over the weekend rather, was when people really became familiar with this guy, because he is a quintessential showman. He's so funny and entertaining. He mained Hugo in the tournament, and the way he played as Hugo, I thought was just fascinating, because he wasn't usually playing Hugo like the way people normally play Hugo, but every time he would win a round or a match, he would show off his personality to the crowd. And he did a death drop, which, if you're familiar with drag shows, is insane. I hope his back is okay. He's jumping high into the air. He's doing the splits. The guy is a hoot and a holler to watch. Unfortunately, he got knocked out of the tournament, but he made his impression and his presence be known during that Third Strike tournament. And he is part of now what people are calling Evo Moment 38, when he had this really awesome exchange with Frankie BFG, where there was just pixel perfect timing on a lot of those counters, and then following up with his own stuff. It was an absolute insane thing to watch. Now, getting to this Heihachi news. Right before the Tekken 8 finals were supposed to take place, Harada and Michael Murray came out, do their usual shtick and spiel, talking about the Tekken World Tour and how this year, for the very first time on December 5th through the 8th, it's going to be taking place in Tokyo, in Japan, which is super cool. It's the very first time. I believe it's Shibuya in particular is where it's going to be happening. And that's going to be really awesome to watch. It's a pretty big cash grab there for the prize, $300,000. Nowhere near as close as Street Fighter 6's $1 million, but still, 300 grand is life-changing money. So good luck to the people that enter that. That's most likely going to be super entertaining to watch. But then, of course, as they were walking off stage, they left, doing their usual shtick, and then they came back and they said they had one more thing, and they start to play a trailer. And this trailer is playing, and at first I thought, is this like some sort of online thing? Is this for like the arcade mode? Because we see all of these, like what they're called Tekken monks, doing Mishima style moves. They're doing waivus across like fire and coal, and they're fighting this older guy who has a hat and a mask on, and he's got long gray hair. And as you see him fight, he's doing Heihachi style moves. And then everyone in the crowd just loses it because we all know at this point, this has got to be Heihachi. And the trailer plays out and it looks like Lydia and Eddie, who are the newest DLC characters, are going to be playing a pretty big role within the story of the Tekken 8 DLC, which is sick, especially for Eddie. Eddie went through such a hard time in these past few Tekken. He just got relegated to the background, even though he had a really compelling story of wanting to get revenge. He eventually just kind of became a background dancer for Lucky Chloe, which was a fall from grace for the character. But to see them bring Eddie back and to really treat him seriously and now put him in the story mode is super sick. So as this trailer is playing out, there's this massive explosion on this Mishima land. I don't even know what you would call it, but I'm assuming Heihachi somehow, took his Zaibatsu funds and created this island where people could train, like this Mishima resort, if you want to call it. It almost kind of reminded me of the Mishima stuff from the Tekken anime that took place recently, where he was training Jin. It's almost kind of like that, but much bigger, like a Mishima compound, I guess is the best way to put it. There's a massive fight that breaks out, a huge explosion, and through the fire and rubble, we see the man himself walking towards the screen, and it is Heihachi Mishima. He's got the scars on his chest. He's talking to the camera, reintroducing himself, and yeah, Heihachi is officially back. And as someone who mained Heihachi since the very beginning of Tekken, back in like 95 or 96 when Tekken 2 came out, losing Heihachi after 7 sucked, because he was one of my go-to characters. And not having him in 8 was a bummer. Even though there are a lot of characters in Tekken that I jump around from and like to play, it was always really cool to bounce back to Heihachi. And that's what Heihachi was to me. He was like my equilibrium. He helped me center myself in these games. And not having him sucked. But now he's back. And it's just so funny because at the end of Tekken 7, Heihachi dying seemed pretty definitive. Kazuya got that final hit in, he breathed his last breath of air, and then he fell into the, molten lava, and then Kazuya would go on to fight Akuma. And Harada made it be known, Heihachi is dead. He's dead as a doornail. He's not coming back. He was so defiant in saying that, yeah, Heihachi is dead. That man is a liar. And it's almost like Heihachi was teasing the crowd too, because he's looking directly into the camera, introducing himself, basically saying like, yeah, I'm back. You thought I was gone? Psych. I am returning. So to see how Heihachi's going to play out in the story, I want to know how he's going to come back. He looked kind of younger in this CG animation. Maybe it was the lighting, maybe it was just the fact that it was CG, but he did look a little bit younger. Like his mustache was black, his hair looked like it may have been a little bit darker as well, not like the super white kind of hair that he had in Tekken 7. Almost kind of like he looked the way he did in Tekken Tag 2 in that scenario when I think he was taking like some sort of elixir or serum that made him temporarily young. I wonder if they're gonna do that. Maybe they transferred his soul into something else. Maybe they were just able to reanimate him somehow. I don't know. It's the world of Tekken. This is a world where bears can learn karate, kangaroos and dinosaurs exist, and we've got Heihachi Mishima, who just seemingly cannot die. So Heihachi's going to be coming out in the fall. I cannot wait to, see more about him. I hope we get a good Tekken talk going over, like, are his moves going to be different? What kind of outfits is he going to get? And of course, more importantly, that story stuff. I cannot wait to get my hands on that stuff. And how is he going to interact with Reina? Reina clearly has a relationship with him and Kazuya and Jin. I want to know all of the family tea when it comes to these characters. It's just going to be so much fun, and I cannot wait. So with that being said, that is the video. Please excuse my voice. I'm on the tail end of getting better from the C virus, which really sucked. It knocked me down pretty hard, and you can hear it in my voice, but I'm starting to get a little bit better. But watching EVO is just so much fun. I love doing it every single year and seeing what announcements are going to be there, and just seeing how hype the fights actually turn out is just... it's so much fun. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think of any of the news that happened at EVO, whether we talked about it in this video or not. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.